This was a very large study published last year, almost 5,000 patients that were presented to the emergency room. And I believe this was out of University of California, Davis. About 1,500 dogs and about 450 cats had lactate measured within the first 4 hours of admission. And most common cause for that dog to be presented to the emergency room at UC Davis: shock. For cats, urinary tract disease. But it shouldn't surprise anybody to learn in this study that shock was the issue associated with the highest mortality rate in both of these species. And they looked at serial lactate values, and when was it highest? Well, within the first 30 minutes. And that makes sense, right? These patients are just being presented, just being evaluated, primary surveys are happening, doctors and nursing teams are formulating what they want to do, and they're just getting initial measurements and haven't really initiated very aggressive protocols. They're just getting preliminary information. But what we learned from this study was it's not the absolute lactate that we need to be paying attention to. It is how rapidly does the body clear that lactate. And this seemed to end up being a double-edged sword, because if the body didn't clear the lactate quickly, there's a higher chance of not surviving. But the higher the delta lactate was also a negative prognostic factor. So much so that if the lactate changed by greater than 4.5 millimoles per liter, in this study, that had 100% specificity for non-survival. So what that should tell us is the patients that had their delta lactate greater than 4.5 millimoles per liter, they have really, really high lactates to begin with, and that implies meaningful physiologic stress and anaerobic metabolism. And so I found this paper validating, because in the critical care world, we've been talking about not focusing on absolute lactate and focusing on delta lactate, the change in lactate over time, and that if it didn't change, that was a red flag. AKA, if the body didn't clear it, that was a red flag. But we also learned from this paper that if it changed a lot, that wasn't necessarily a good thing either. Not because clearing lactate wasn't a good thing, but more likely because those patients had really severe disease to begin with, contributing to their lactates being so high in the first place.